Hello. Hi there, welcome to I Alone Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Scorpio energy. And we're going to do this 10 card spread, and then we're going to kind of read it from a couple different perspectives. Because people are going to make these energies are available for people, because we've got free will, to be enlightened to the truth that love is the answer and to temper our ego and our fear. And people have the free will to harness these energies in that way. But sometimes, we haven't learned those lessons. And sometimes we'll instead harness these energies in a more immature way, prideful way, defensive way, self centered, egotistical way. Everybody's kind of on the spectrum of lessons that they've learned in life. And Scorpio is emotional water sign energy and can be about exploring the mysteries of life emotionally, but you'd have to be willing to explore yourself emotionally. And we're complex human beings and we can be confusing. And some people just shut that down. Scorpio is also represented by the death card. Like, nope, not doing that. That's too confusing. I'm just going to kind of live on the surface of my emotions. I'm not really going to delve into getting to know myself emotionally. I'm maybe not really interested in getting to know anyone else in a deep, meaningful relationship, you know. And other people are more emotionally connected in with themselves, do want to explore the mysteries of life emotionally, want to get to know other people and invest themselves and be in more deep, meaningful relationships. And the truth is, some people don't. But, um, you know, it can be hard to relate to that and even believe it. But we live in a world of duality and everybody has free will. And some people can choose, nope, I'm not doing love. I get hurt doing love. I don't even want to do love. I'm going to make it more about me or the world or these things I indulge in. That's more important. And other people are like, oh my gosh, like, how can you work at a job every day that you don't like the people or like the job? And some people would say, well, it makes me money and has a certain status or image to it, or, or, you just got to do, and everybody's got to deal with their own life circumstances. But it's just like people being in relationships, like, you maybe don't even like them, but oh well, it serves its purpose. I'll kiss their butt or something, or I don't know. We all tap into Scorpio energy. This might be something that Scorpio energy itself is dealing with. So it might be more impactful for people who are Scorpio sun sign or have significant Scorpio placements. But it in turn can be what's going on in Scorpio energy and, kind of more high vibe Scorpio battling with more low vibe Scorpio in the world. And who's going to pick more high vibe Scorpio and who's not? Well, I view this as the overarching reason for the reading, which is the Page of Swords. It's going to depend on what people's truth is. And it's also going to depend on their maturity level. The pages can represent that people are more immature and they got some life lessons to learn yet. Kind of immature in their thinking, their logic, their reasoning, could be more self-centered, more about themselves. Other people maybe have learned these lessons and they have that more hopeful believing in nature in life. Some people are willing to speak the truth, stand up for themselves in truth and love, not being harsh, not being hard and defensive, just being honest. And I don't know, some other people could think that, they're living their truth also. They just might have to go on a journey of learning some more lessons in life. And at the end of the reading, we have two cards of moving forward in the Six of Swords and the Knight of Cups. Everybody's going to move forward based on their truth and what they think is going to make them happy, or, well, yeah, basically the Knight of Cups is Pisces energy, kind of about our dreams and what we think will be emotionally fulfilling. And we've all taken action towards things that we're sure were going to make us happy. But it might not turn out the way we want, and we might end up feeling kind of stuck because life is about learning these lessons and being awakened to the truth in the Hangman card, that it's not just all about us, that it is supposed to be about looking at life from a higher perspective and kind of walking away from your illusions of being more about yourself or caught up in these things of the world. You can make your life more about yourself and more about these things of the world. And the people who are probably going to stay in a relationship with you and people like that are other people who view life that way. And that's just and fair. We've all been more caught up in being about ourselves or indulging ourselves or had lessons to learn in life. And we go hang out with people who kind of view life the same way we do. But if we haven't been illuminated to the truth, um, we might find that these things that we go invest in don't quite turn out the way we thought. Again, because we weren't illuminated to the truth and we weren't looking at life from a higher perspective. If we went and took action where it was kind of more about me, my wants, my needs, my how it was going to benefit me, if we're going to work together with others, it's supposed to be from truth and love. And some people haven't been awakened to that truth and they still think it's kind of more about them indulging themselves. And they kind of indulge themselves. They think that's just and fair. They're trying to find other people who are kind of maybe more about indulging themselves in whatever else they make their life about themselves, these things of the world, ego image. And I think eventually they'll feel stuck because they're not taking action from truth and love. We can have the status, we can have the image, we can have the things we indulge in, but if those things aren't truth and love, those things really aren't the answer to emotional fulfillment. Emotional fulfillment is being willing to learn these lessons, to grow up and mature yourself. From the one sword to the six of swords is taking back the five of swords, which can be kind of more about ourselves. And it's more about us, right? And how it's going to benefit us. And or trying to change other people. No, no, no. I'm sure they'll change. And then we can move forward and we're kind of chasing after people, trying to change other people. The truth is, everybody is the type of person that they are. Can we offer people truth and love and encouragement? Yes, those people have to make their own free will choice to be more independent of their more immature nature, defensive nature, prideful nature, self centered nature, stubborn nature. And if they don't, high vibe people see the truth of it. They wish them peace and love and they move on to go find people who are awakened to the truth. So, what's going on in Pisces energy? We start out. Oh, wait, this isn't Pisces. We got a lot of Pisces here. It's Scorpio. Okay, what's going on in Scorpio energy that we might not. Well, we start out with the card not showing itself. We'll talk about it in a minute. The Justice card in reverse. Okay. So, we've all moved forward with things in our life, right? That we thought, the Six of Swords in Aquarius energy, we had a dream. We thought something was going to move forward. We could have thought that some people were on the same page as us. And then we could have found out that how we view life, our dreams, things that we want to go invest in, if we're all willing to deal with the truth and offer truth and love to the situation, and we kind of have the same dreams and motivations. And we've all been where we didn't feel we got the justice we deserved, right? So then people have the free will choice. How am I going to move forward now? Am I going to take action because I feel stuck because something didn't work out the way I wanted? That I'm going to take action more out of pride, ego, fear, insecurity, defensiveness, or am I going to deal with the truth? Put things in perspective, look at life from the bigger picture, offer love to myself and others so I can move on. Work through the emotional confusion. Pisces is a transitional, immutable sign, so it helps us transition out of things. Scorpio energy can be the emotional water sign energy, it's fixed sign energy. The emotional water sign energy that we kind of tap into when we're in the midst of something, trying to make something work and in something, we're putting in the work and effort. Pisces is the one that helps us transition out, probably because of some truth that we realized that how we want to move forward is different. And then we offer that cup of love to ourselves to kind of see through the illusion. The Eight of Cups walks away from the Seven of Cups. Um, Over here, we could have, in the Four of Pentacles, which kind of has a feminine figure on it, there was things that we emotionally wanted to invest in and hold on to. And, that could have been jobs, friendships, relationships, people we wanted to marry, people we did marry, people we thought we wanted to marry, just anything kind of that we invested in. It could have even just been a stage of life we were at where we viewed life a certain way. And then we're kind of stressed out again because there was something, a way of living life, viewing life, habits, patterns, something that we wanted to hold on to. And in the Nine of Swords, we're kind of stressed about becoming independent of it. The One Cup plus the Eight of Cups is the Nine of Cups of becoming independent of something. And the nines can be about closing out a cycle. And mentally, since the Nine of Swords is air sign energy of the mind, mentally we might know I need to move away from this job, friendship, relationship, or way of living my life. It isn't working for me. And so logically, I can know I need to move away. But again, in Scorpio, we are these emotionally complex human beings. We can have contradictory emotions, and it's hard to sort through those things, right? But it makes us not like an animal or a computer. It's difficult and it's challenging, and that is part of working through the emotional complexity, that we can have these different thoughts and feelings towards people, and it's challenging and it's difficult. High vibe people, though, are inspired in the Eight of Wands, which is Sagittarius energy, which in high vibe is about higher learning and education and philosophy and wrapping your brain around this game of life. I am inspired to work through my mental conflict. The Six of Swords leaves behind the Five of Swords. There could have been things that we were moving forward with. This is Libra energy, this is Sagittarius energy, and people could have wanted to move forward with us, but maybe we thought they were unbalanced, or their idea of what was just and fair was different than our idea of what was just and fair. Maybe they were more caught up in the world and living more from their mind than their heart. Maybe had fear of moving forward in life a little differently, to step outside their comfort zone, because the Four of Pentacles can be, I have this foundation, this way of living life and viewing life, and I kind of want to keep doing this. And maybe some people in Aquarius, their Aquarius energy of themselves, had mental conflict about, would like to be in friendship and relationship, but they like to keep moving forward, kind of being in the relationship, maybe living more from their mind than their heart, or more about being in it for the status or the ego or the image. That's kind of us still being more caught up in making our life more about these things of the world, the status, the ego, the image, and wanting to manifest these certain things in our life or indulge in these certain things in our life. And, we all have our idea of what the dream life is about. And this will make me happy. And this is in my comfort zone. That's not my comfort zone. And other people could have been during the course of something they had been invested in. And some people are going through it right now. Some other people already did this. But somewhere during the course of it, maybe they're just a more creative, inspired person within themselves. These are all fire sign energy. This is Sagittarius. The Page of Wands represents all three of the fire signs. Sagittarius, this one is Aries and Leo. I'm kind of more inspired to, and maybe even be curious, because fire sign, can be that curious nature within ourselves, and also, maybe do look at life from a higher perspective. Don't get so caught up in their head or consumed by these things of the world. And we all have that potential within us, but there's stages of our life where we're not at that stage of life, right? We kind of view life a certain way, we live life a certain way. And I think for the first 30, 40 years of our life, we're pretty caught up in these things of the world and in ourself that we are pretty fired up about, that we make our life about. And we can go through stages of our life where we're more fearful of being more authentically ourselves, or more bold and brave and confident. We can have a lot of fears and insecurities. It's all those stages of life that we go through. And regardless of what age people are, some people still haven't worked through some of the things that some other people kind of could have been working through throughout their life. You have to be inspired to be willing to kind of invest in yourself and believe in yourself and learn how to temper your own fears and your own insecurities to kind of move forward in life a little differently. And some people maybe never really did that much in their life. And they could have also then had other people in their life or that they grew up with that don't do that. Nope, we should be more motivated and inspired to not look at life any differently, to make our life being more inspired by these things of the world. We think that's just and fair. We might not look at life like some other people, and we should maybe make our life more about looking like a shining star in the world. That's the most important thing. That's our truth. And they keep kind of investing emotionally and operating. Shadowy hangman can be just operating more from their ego, unwilling to look at life from any other perspective. And where do we get these ideas in our head? Probably from people that we've grown up with, and all these different people in the world that live in different types of families, and those families have their own belief systems, and the communities and the school districts and the city and the state or the country, they've all got their way of viewing life. And we all want people to want to be inspired to be in relationship with us. The Eight of Wands can talk about wanting to move forward with people, and the Page of Wands can be wanting to have these new beginnings, and the Four of Wands can talk about wanting to come together with other people. We all want that. And so sometimes people, even if it's not really their truth, some people just kind of go with the flow. Like, well, that's what other people are doing, that's what I'll do. If other people are saying this is important and this is the most important thing, then I'll make my life about that too. And they could keep wondering why they keep feeling stuck. I thought this was going to be emotionally fulfilling, and I went and invested in it, and I made my life about these things. But now I'm kind of stressed out, maybe about, what I've moved forward with and what I invested in and what I tried to go create. Because the truth could be, that we didn't really listen to our own truth. And just like a lot of other people, for the first 30, 40 years of our life, we again we're sure because kind of, our shadow nature is our more worldly nature. And at the big picture, the worldly nature or shadow nature, kind of represented by the devil, is live life this way, make your life about these things. You can have all these things of the world, just don't see the truth. Keep buying into the illusion, keep investing in the illusion. But we were meant, I think, to be more creative and inspired than, because shadowy energy, represented by the devil of the big picture, can be where we keep repeating these old patterns, conforming to the world in a way. But we were given this creative, inspired nature within ourselves. We're not all the same. We all have our own unique talent, skills, and interests, and we're meant to kind of invest in those things. We need other people to kind of look at life differently. Because otherwise, we will keep doing the same old thing and nothing ever moves forward. And I think as we live our life, hopefully, if we have that more hopeful, believing, curious nature and have a little more hope and faith and belief in our dreams, and when we feel stuck, we offer love to ourselves to work through it, to try to figure out, again, I could have friends and family, I could live in a certain city, state, country. It's hard to become independent of those things and live my more authentic truth from love and listen to my own intuition. But, if everybody had done this since the beginning of time, still be cave people. But luckily, people were like, you know what? I have an idea. I kind of think we could move forward a little differently. And they listened to their intuition and were inspired to listen to their intuition, which I think high vibe energy at the big picture represented by God, that we were given this creative, inspired, intuitive, that, and we look at life differently than other people. And like, gee, we should come up with indoor plumbing. Gee, maybe we come up with light bulbs for indoor lighting. Maybe we come up with indoor heating instead of a fire, you know? And, you know, that's how the world gives birth to new things, because they were willing to listen to their own creative, inspired, intuitive nature that was like a seed planted within them to look at life a little differently. And, sometimes we're not the next person who's going to make a new invention, but um, it doesn't mean we have to stay in situations where we feel like we're not living our authentic truth. And maybe if we started to live more of our authentic truth from love, um, maybe it would awaken. It's kind of going on that life experience that we get exposed to different things. And as we get exposed to different things, Sagittarius, looking at life as an adventure to be lived. As I keep moving forward in my life and kind of meet different people, and other people look at life differently than I look at life, that, hey, gee, I never would have even looked at life from that perspective. And gee, that's kind of really changed the direction of how I viewed myself, how I viewed the world, how I viewed others, what I thought was just and fair, of how to treat myself or how to treat others or how to view relationships. And it just kind of, high vibe Pisces is about expanding your perception of yourself and what you believe is possible, because so much of what we believe is possible is based on our thinking. And when we connect more in with expanding, working through our fears and our insecurities to love and believe in ourselves and believe in what can be, and being willing to step out of our comfort zone to be in high vibe fire sign energy, maybe a little more bold and brave and confident within ourselves, to put ourselves out there, you know just doing that kind of could make us work through some of our self-limiting beliefs because we faced our fears, we are moving forward in life differently, and then it's like, kind of taking those steps. And sometimes you have to fake it till you make it, but then it starts to become the norm, just like breaking a bad habit. When I quit doing this and I start doing this, I mean, you do have to be inspired within yourself to look at life differently. Otherwise, you are just creating an illusion, which is what some people are doing right now. But the people who are really motivated and inspired to change, they are looking at life from a higher perspective, putting things in perspective, offering love to themselves and the past to be able to see things from a higher perspective. It's not all about me. It's not all about these things that I make so important in my life. It is, and then as I do that and I offer love to the situation, it helps me work through those things that could have happened in my past that used to maybe instill more fear or insecurity or something, right? And I work through it. It's being inspired to invest time and energy to work through it. That's how you hold the key to freeing yourself from things that manipulate you. And high vibe people have learned that, but some other people haven't learned that. And they keep thinking, no, I don't have to do that work within myself. That is not the answer. And I don't have to work through those things. And I don't have to see the truth about myself or other people. I don't have to offer love to it. I don't have to see through or work through my emotional confusion or my fear or my insecurity. I can choose to keep operating more from my ego and think, I know, I'll just go indulge in these things of the world, or I'll go get in a different friendship, relationship, or job. That's the answer. I just need to get out of what I was in. But the thing is, human beings, I think, is that we'll keep repeating a certain pattern because we have a certain way of viewing life and viewing ourselves and how we view others and what we think is just and fair of how to conduct ourselves in relationships. And if we keep taking ourselves out there, but we haven't seen where we needed to heal or grow and mature ourselves and see the truth about people that we might tend to get in relationship and friendship with, we're probably going to need to find ourselves in the exact same situation and be like, shit, how'd I end up here again? Because, again, the truth sets us free. We have to learn the lesson we were meant to learn. What kind of people am I drawn and attracted to? Why am I drawn and attracted to those kind of people? How did that work out for me? Do I indulge? Do I try to change other people? Well, everybody has their philosophy of life and of viewing life. Why try to change people like they're broken? They have the free will to live their life whatever way they want. And if they view life, say they're immature, say they're spontaneous and crazy, say they have illusions about what it means to be in a relationship, or they're really fearful and defensive, or they're egotistical, or they're, whatever it is. How about shadowy energy can be this moving the Five of Swords? But I met them and I was attracted to them. It's like, well, should you get in a more involved relationship with everybody you're attracted to? You know, can we have some foresight that maybe this isn't going to work out the way we think? And we could have been afraid that maybe our dreams wouldn't come into reality. And then we met someone and we really wanted those dreams to come into reality. So we took that job, got in that friendship, got in that relationship. but we maybe still weren't listening to our own intuition. Is this aligned with my truth? Or do we kind of have opposing truths? And kind of what more drives and motivates them, and what's more important to them, how they view life, what they emotionally like to invest their time, energy, and effort into, if they're more immature, if they're not curious about growing and healing and maturing themselves versus people who are, people who do look at life from a higher perspective, and other people who say there is nothing in this world but what the world tells us. And in this particular phase of life or decade of life, the world tells us this is the most important thing. And if we do these things or act this way or dress this way or own this or act like this, we'll look like we're living the dream. And that's kind of what guides our life. There's some shadowy people in the world that like imbalanced relationships, and they try to find people that they think are maybe don't have what they have in the world, because the Four of Pentacles is Capricorn energy, which can be that some people maybe have things that, other people want. Shadowy Capricorn is represented by the devil, but like they're attractive or they're charming or, can look victorious or successful in some way, but they have this way in the Four of Pentacles that this is the way I view life. I do not want to look at life any differently. I do not want to step outside my comfort zone. I could have fear of being more authentically myself, believing in love, believing in others. I think I'm more inspired to keep moving forward from this truth that it is more about getting in relationships to maybe look like a shining star in the world, to look victorious and successful. But it's kind of in shadowy Pisces, it can be more the illusion that is based on truth and love. But it's really not based on truth and love. I like to be in relationships. Some people could say, shadowy energy is that it's I want to be in a relationship where we make it more about these things of the world, that's the driving factor, or it's more about me. And sometimes people who are like that are looking to people who they think want these things that normal human beings want, but might not have been illuminated to the reality that there are people like them in the world. You know, we've all got some growing up to do. And you can be a very loving, hopeful, believing person, but we've got to deal with the reality that there are some people out there who are more motivated and inspired by these themselves and these things of the world. And then we get in relationships with them. It causes us this mental conflict because we had our truth thinking it was going to be more motivated by love, and they have their truth, which is not that. And then it's this confusing thing, and it causes a lot of stress. And we feel kind of stuck, you know, and, sometimes you kind of wonder, but they view life the way they view it. That is their truth. And just like your truth could be, I'm more motivated and inspired by love, like everybody, I want some stability and security in my life, and I'm going to put work and effort into those things, but those things just don't kind of manipulate me to the degree that it can manipulate other people. And then the fact is, there are some people who think if they do have more of those things of the world that people want, then they do think that they should be more shadowy fire sign, and shadowy energy in general can just be, I think I should be able to be kind of more immature in the relationship or more about me. And I should be more indulged in a relationship. And that's where they like someone being more codependent on them. Move forward with me, your dreams will come into reality. Oh, by the way, though, you don't maybe know it yet, but you'll find out that I'm kind of stubborn, unwilling to look at life from any other perspective. If you're going to move forward with people to try to bring a dream into reality, it should be acknowledging that everyone has their truth, their dreams, their aspirations, and you're supposed to work cooperatively with them in a foundation, taking into account that they have their hopes and dreams, they have their viewpoints and aspirations, and you have yours, and together you try to see things from each other's perspective. It's compromise, and it should be based on truth and love. But there's other people who don't view it that way. Now, I think if I have these certain things in the world that people want, that's the most important thing. That's what they think is the most important thing. And then it's kind of like if you're eventually kind of see the truth that it is more about them, and you're not willing to keep indulging them in their more stubborn nature or prideful nature or immature nature or whatever, and if you want to keep moving forward with it, it's going to be based more on kind of not compromising, and it's their way or the highway sometimes it gets to be. And if you're not willing to indulge them, well, then they'll leave. And sometimes you had to leave, because I'm not going to stay in a relationship when I become enlightened to the truth that their truth is this more shadowy perception of a relationship. I don't think that's just and fair. But they, in their mind, could think it's just and fair, and some people don't want to be just and fair. It's kind of like I'm the parent and you're the child. I'm like the boss and you're like the employee, but you're relationship partners or even just friends, but they still think it should be a little bit more about them. Or because you haven't learned to love yourself and you still look to them, they want to play that kind of role in your life. But if you become more independent and love yourself, well, then they don't want to keep moving forward with you in a relationship because they kind of like playing that role in people's life. So some people right now are holding, and that's in high vibe energy, you're willing to be authentic, open, honest, communicate your truth, get out of your ego. And there's some people who have been unwilling to do that and are unwilling to do that. And shadowy hangman can then be, I don't think you'll believe in yourself or whatever, and I'm going to sit back here to prove a point. And some people offered truth and love to the people in their life for them to close out an old cycle. The nines can be where we're at that point where it's kind of like it's time to close out an old cycle, to look at all the ways of how we live life, view life, kind of look at what are the good building blocks to take forward and what are some of the ones we should let go of. And go have this new beginning, working together, inspired by truth and love, to bring that dream into reality, to offer ourselves that cup of love to work through maybe some issues in our past or our pride or our ego or our stubbornness or our immature nature or our bossy nature, whatever it is, to become independent of some of those things or people in our life, or letting the world dictate our life or our ego, or and become more independent and let love and intuition guide us. But some people have a lot of fear of doing that because it's not like following a template. It's not repeating this old pattern over and over. Well, if I go out there and I do that, I've never been there before. That would be like creating something completely new. I would have to let love and intuition guide me. I'd have to get out of my ego or my stubbornness. I'd have to be more inspired, to have more hope and faith and belief in myself and in others and in love. And some people have a lot of fear about that. That's a whole different way of looking at life. And they maybe in their whole life never thought they were going to live life like that. I was going to do this and I was going to keep moving forward like that. That's my truth. And other people who worked with them in some capacity kind of saw the truth of it. And the truth is, everybody has the free will to live their life the way that makes them feel stable and grounded within themselves, comfortable within themselves, in whatever way they enjoy. There's just going to be natural consequences. Say if you're a bossy, stubborn person in a workplace, friendship, or relationship, or egotistical or immature, odds are some scenarios are going to keep replaying over and over in their life. And until they're willing to see the truth of it, of how it doesn't quite work out the way they think, well, are they willing to see that maybe they need to grow up and mature themselves? Maybe try to see things from other people's perspective instead of just their perspective. But, you know, we all know some people who we might think are very out of balance have these skewy ideas of what they think and illusions about what it means to be in a relationship. And they keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. And some of those people are trying to move forward with people, creating this illusion again. And those people might move forward with them, and one day those people will kind of see through the illusion that, oh, you just create the illusion that you're motivated and inspired by love, but really it's more about you and the ego and the image of it, or you indulging in it, but it's not really authentically love. And that'll happen when those people feel kind of stuck in the relationship and they don't kind of realize why. Because the relationship doesn't grow and mature itself over time. It doesn't become high vibe Scorpio is a deep, meaningful relationship. And some people are like, no, I'm not doing that. But I will enjoy the relationship. I will indulge in the relationship. I could be nurturing and supportive and encouraging in a relationship, but I'm not doing love. And other people's dream is to be in a relationship with people where the relationship grows and matures over time and becomes a more deep, meaningful relationship. And they kind of see that some of the people in their life got some growing up and maturing to do because, and again, they can't maybe understand why people leave. Well, this has the stability or the security or the status or the image, or we're in a relationship. Why would you leave? We like each other good enough. We get along good enough. Well, because I don't want to be in a relationship just more for the ego or the image, or to be in a relationship or have someone to have sex with. I had a dream. I want to work together with people who are inspired by love and where it is more just and fair. And love is supposed to be where you treat other people the way you like to be treated. And it is working together cooperatively from love to try to see things from the other person's perspective and work together to bring a dream into reality. And everyone might have some ways of viewing life that and living life that they need to walk away from and quit investing in, or just become more independent of the world or other people or their ego or their fear. And some people think, well, no, you should do that, but I shouldn't ever have to do that. So again, it's this illusion that other people need to change, but not them. And when it gets to that point in a relationship where they do kind of have to do some of this work to kind of work through some of their fears and insecurities, or being more about themselves, or thinking it should be more about themselves, or how the world or their ego or other people in their life kind of manipulate them, that they're not independent from, well, then that's a stumbling block. Well, that would require me to look at life differently. And they don't have to, but that's when some people leave jobs, leave friendships, leave relationships. We look at life differently. And shadowy energy can be people. In the Nine of Swords, the stumbling block is the truth. there's some truth they don't want to see the truth of. The truth sets us free. For some of them, they don't want to see the truth, and we can stay in denial of the truth. I'm not being immature. I'm not being stubborn. I'm not more about myself. Some people just have a lot of mental conflict that they don't want to deal with. And instead of, from the Nine of Swords to the Six of Swords, is letting go of the Three of Swords, which is Libra energy, which can be about past pain and heartbreak, or that we have this conflict between our mind and our heart and listening to our intuition and our truth, but kind of get caught up in our head about maybe speaking our truth or being more independent. And so then all those things can manipulate us again. And some people think, I don't have to deal with those things. I don't want to deal with those things. And that's true, they don't have to. But they try to move forward in relationships, but all those things are still things that affect how they perceive themselves, how they perceive others, how what they think is just and fair in a relationship. And those things kind of keep manipulating them. And they have this illusion, no, if I just get like in the right relationship, it's like someone who doesn't want to deal with their past pain and heartbreak or something, or self-limiting beliefs. I just have to find the right person to get in a relationship, and it'll magically make all those things go away. And then they move forward in a relationship, and then all those things are still there and they still bother them. And then they could think, oh, well, you must be the wrong person. I need to go find someone else to go get in a relationship with because you didn't solve all my problems. I was like, I can't solve your problems. If you have a lot of things that stress you out, you need to emotionally invest and be motivated and inspired within yourself to get to the root cause of it, to get to the truth. The truth will set you free. But again, some people can really have some mental conflict about acknowledging these truths to themselves, about themselves, or acknowledging the truth to themselves about other things or people or how the world manipulates them. And no, 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 that they don't want to see the truth of that. But it ends up other people see the truth of it. And they can see how those things manipulate them. And eventually other people move on. You might not want to see how you're kind of immature or stubborn or live more from your mind than your heart, or kind of immature in your thinking, logic, and reasoning, or have things that manipulate you, but I see it. And it'd be kind of like talking to a brick wall. We could imagine if we were to look back at our younger self to a degree, how many times did people tell us stuff and we didn't listen? It's like, and we all have to be ready to want to look at life differently, and we have to grow up and mature. So some people saw the truth. I don't think we kind of look at life the same way. I think we're motivated and inspired by different things. High vibe people offered love to it so they could work through it emotionally, because love is the answer. They offered truth and love to it. I'm willing to work together with you, but we have to deal with the truth, and we have to illuminate the truth. And some people are like, nope, not willing to do that. I would move forward with you, but we can't maybe illuminate the truth. Let's create some illusion about whatever happened and why we got back together again, but let's not deal with the truth. I don't want to illuminate the truth. And there too, some people just don't want to be more just and fair in a relationship. And some people weren't. And shadowy energy can be where, instead of being truthful and honest and just and fair, people decide, I think I can manipulate this person. I think this person wants this dream to come into reality and is being truthful and authentic and loving. And I think they want this to come into reality. I'm not going to do the just and fair thing. They can go. I think they'll maybe be back and they'll be willing to do it the way I want to do it. So some people saw that some people were being stubborn, feeling that people were trying to manipulate their more loving nature, saw that they were being more prideful or stubborn or immature. And the people kept moving forward and believing in themselves, believing in their dreams. They kept offering love to it. And I'm going to keep moving forward in my truth, and you can keep doing your truth. And eventually, over time, I don't view those people as people that I'm not caught up in the illusion of them, because every day that they're not being inspired to work together with me in truth and love is another day I see that they're not the person. The Eight of Cups walks away from the Seven of Cups of shadowy Scorpio, that I was kind of caught up in the illusion of who they were, and that's not the truth of who they were. Or if they were that person at one point in time, going down the road of life, we can kind of drive off into the ditch and, kind of get more caught up in ourself or our lust or our greed or our pride or our ego, or thinking we should be more indulged or something or full of ourselves, and they're just not who we thought they were anymore. And the high vibe people keep moving forward, and there could be some people getting out of workplaces, friendships, and relationships just like some other people did. And the people who already did, yeah, was it easy? No. They were stressed out. But they believed in their truth, and I'm not willing, kind of in the Four of Pentacles. I have my truth, they have their truth. I'm going to emotionally invest in my truth. And if people aren't motivated and inspired to work together with me, building a foundation on hope and faith and belief and love, and they want to build a foundation more on something else that's their truth, then our truth is different. And I'm going to keep moving forward, investing in believing in myself, believing in my dreams. And as they do that, which some people have already done, some people are just beginning that journey, doing all of that helps them work through the mental conflict that they had about detaching from something that wasn't just and fair. And offering love to themselves helps them work through the emotional confusion and become independent of it. And the truth, being awakened to the truth, kind of sets them free. I see the truth and I accept the truth. I get out of my ego that other people's truth is different than mine. And they want to live their life the way they want to live their life. And I found out the way they want to live their life, I have some mental conflict about that. Because it's just different. I look at life differently than they look at life. They have their way of looking at life. And so it's the same way we can meet people. There can be lots of people in our community, our workplaces, whatever. We're all moving forward in life, and we kind of, with a lot of people, we kind of know, can we get along with them just fine? Yeah, because we're not kind of like in a more involved romantic relationship with them. We can know all sorts of people. Oh, you're more immature. Oh, you're more victorious and successful. You're more bold and brave and confident. You're more self-indulgent. You're more stressed. No matter. We can get along with them just fine. But trying to get in a more romantic relationship with someone uh, where it's these kind of, and initially, we could have had a lot of things in common and a lot of similar things and long-term kind of goals that we wanted. And it can sometimes take a long time in a friendship or relationship. And again, because sometimes some people, kind of are going off in the ditch, and in different ways. And or sometimes we realize after being in a friendship relationship that um things aren't moving forward the way we thought they were going to move forward. And, you can kind of feel like other people don't really care. I'm okay with it being this way. We should just keep doing this. Well, who are the people who are most okay with things staying the same? The people who benefit from it staying the same. And the other people are like, well, I'm not happy that it's staying the same. I want it to move forward a little differently. And the other people are like, nope. It's like, okay, I wish you peace, but I'm not going to keep living my life like that. What's coming up for some people who harness some high vibe Scorpio energy? I think high vibe people get out of their ego. They look at life differently. They've healed, they've grown, they've matured. They communicate to people in their life, maybe about the lessons that they've learned. They move forward in life a little differently than they used to move forward in life. They're not repeating old patterns and taking action in ways that they could have possibly taken action when things like this happened in their life in the past, because they know if they do that, it's not going to turn out the way they want. If I want different, I have to be different. And if I want and have these certain dreams, I got to quit. The only person I can change is me. If there was a reason why I was drawn and attracted to certain people, I have to see what it was within me that made me drawn and attracted to them, or the next person who's kind of like that I'm going to be drawn and attracted to. I need to work through my illusions, for one, to think that everybody's motivated and inspired by love when they're not. Everybody can present themselves in the world as a more stable, grounded, emotionally mature, loving person. It doesn't mean that they are. They can harness this energy in a more shadowy way. So then it can be a lot of communication, and the pages can be, I just am going to get to know people, not going to move forward in a more involved relationship until I get to know people better, to know kind of more what their truth is and what drives and motivates them. And the people who it does seem like we're kind of on the same page, then those are people that I feel like my intuition, and based on the conversations that we maybe had, that their truth is the same truth as my truth. And those people I'm going to move forward with. And the people who I get to know and I find out, yeah, no, I need to move away from you. I have known people like you before. And though I could find people attractive, charming, stable, whatever, we have to kind of be operating from like the same truth. And high vibe is love. And love is to be just and fair. And it's not kind of more about one person and them, you know? And if it's not shadowy Scorpio, it can be more superficial and shallow. That if people show me they're more caught up in those things and that's what's more important in their life, and maybe it would look good for their ego or their image, or look like they moved on, or they've had a new beginning, or they look victorious and successful, it's like, go find someone else to use as a pawn in your game of trying to make some statement to the world. I only want to move forward with people who authentically want to be in a relationship with me for no ulterior purpose. Then, I feel like you and me, like each other. We've gotten to know each other, that we could bring a dream into reality. There is no ulterior purpose. So, what's coming in for the high vibe people? We have the Fool card, the Emperor, and the Two of Pentacles. Why? Because of the Scorpio Death card. So, what you don't see coming is, as you go through this process in your life, being more motivated and inspired to invest your time, energy, and effort into yourself, your dreams, and people in your life who are moving forward in this type of energy, and letting the people who that's not their truth, let them do whatever they want to do. And as you do that in the Scorpio death card, it transforms your whole life eventually. Again, Scorpio energy, it takes time to work through the emotional confusion of some things and be inspired within yourself, to take the lessons you've learned, to keep not giving up your dreams, realizing your dream can only come into reality with people who are kind of on the same page as you, and that your dream couldn't come into reality with some people who their truth was different. No more an illusion. You have completed a cycle. No more repeating old patterns. And in high vibe Aries Emperor energy, that's about having learned all these lessons in life. High vibe Emperor, male or female, is you're looking like a boss in the world because you're making really good decisions in your life. And you've learned that all four aspects of yourself are equally important. In tarot, we have the heart, the mind, the 3D world, your creative, passionate, intuitive nature. Where before, it could have been, oh no, I love this person, and love was the driving factor, or your emotional nature was the driving factor, and some of the other aspects of your life kind of went in the toilet, or your lust, or your worldly nature, or your self indulgent nature, or whatever, right? But all four are equally important. Otherwise, it kind of throws us out of balance. So you've learned those lessons, and you've gotten in the Two of Pentacles and high vibe balance within yourself, and picked up your investment probably in some people who you feel, both these cards are Aries energy. You picked up your investment in people who, in their fire sign energy, and Aries is about the self, in their fire sign energy of self, they could be still interested in repeating some of those old patterns, which isn't giving birth to anything new, doing the same thing over and over and over. But that might be their comfort zone. And if they don't want to give birth to anything new and want to keep doing whatever they do, and you found it to be dead, where it doesn't ever give birth to anything new. Love gives birth to new things. And they don't want to give birth to new things, or they don't want to do love, and they could be more emotionally shallow and superficial, or bossy, or controlling, or intimidating, or a narcissist, or whatever. And you picked up your investment in them. And you're going on a new adventure, maintaining balance within yourself. So you get to go on this new adventure because you learned the lesson you're meant to learn. So you kind of get set free to go on this new adventure of learning more lessons. And the other people have to keep, they can try to look like they moved forward, they healed, they grew, they matured, but they didn't learn the lesson they were meant to learn. So they'll keep repeating this pattern again, just with someone else. So, what's coming up for some people who harness a more worldly, shadowy Scorpio energy? So, probably in a world of duality, we can kind of go in and out of the ditch. We can get caught up in things and we don't realize, oh shit, but you have to be willing to get out of your pride and ego to admit you made a mistake, to kind of get back on the road of life and kind of stay within the bumper guards, right? That too much is too much. And some people still have those lessons to learn. And so, but what I was getting at, in a world of duality, probably at 50, maybe at any given moment in time, 50% of the people in the world are kind of more aligned with their hopeful believing nature. Some people in your life, some people you don't even know, just going out there living in the world. And 50% of the people are somewhere on the spectrum of being a little bit more in their shadowy nature, you know? So you're moving forward in your truth. Other people are moving forward in that truth. Some people have been there for a while and they're like, is anyone going to come up the path of life who isn't more immature or stubborn or fearful or prideful or full of themselves, so that I can have someone to be friends with or work together with at work or whatever. And some of those people will be happy that you've come along. And then as you move forward, there might come a stage where you feel kind of stuck, but you're not going to repeat some of those old patterns. You're going to keep on your path. And eventually there will be other people. It's kind of like going through the seasons of life. Sometimes we go through a winter season of life. Well, that's time when we can invest in a lot of other things that we enjoy in our life that we maybe wouldn't have as much time to invest in if we were in some of those other things that are a part of our dream life, right? Well, make good decisions in your life. Invest in friends and family and your job and your career and your interests and go enjoy your life. And other people will see that you're doing that. And there will be other people who are like, hey, I want to go on that journey with you. And those will be new people in your life that you move forward with. What's coming in for the shadowy people that they don't see coming? The Queen of Swords. Why? Because of the Two of Pentacles. Well, so they're harnessing these energies in a shadowy way, but other people in their life harness them in a high vibe way. Because we always have a mix of more shadowy and high vibe people just in our environment, in our family, in our workplace, in our community. But the more worldly, shadowy people could be defensive to picking up their investment in some old ways of being. They keep kind of wanting to juggle, like, well, can't I present myself as being, more stable, more grounded, mature, like I've changed, but kind of still keep investing in some of these more shadowy ways of being because they're kind of defensive. Well, because of that, they too are going to have some people in their life that want, in high vibe Aquarius, for things to move forward. Pick up your investment in some of these old ways of being or thinking or perceiving or your fear or codependency or immaturity or self-indulgence to move this forward. I'm ready to move forward, whether it's friends or family members. Quit doing some of these maybe more immature things or thinking people should keep indulging you in some more immature ways, but they're like, well, I don't know if I want to do that. I still think this could work. This would be my idea of the dream life if you all kept indulging me and I didn't have to change. Well, they're going to have people in their life that they don't see coming. They're going to have other people that had hope that some of these people would kind of grow up and mature themselves and pick up their investment in some of these more immature ways of being. And they see the truth that they keep not willing to do it. And some of those people see the truth, and some of those people are going to pick up their investment in them. And those people are going to move on. And the shadowy people will be upset that people aren't willing to indulge them. Why won't they let them juggle the truth? Or kind of go back and forth and be kind of two-faced? Because we live in a world of free will. You either are working together with people being authentic, not trying to deceive people, not trying to manipulate people, not trying to tempt people using the love they have for you to manipulate them or in their more worldly nature or whatever. You're authentic. And then there's people who are more authentically who they are. This is my viewpoint. This is how I live my life. I am more about me. I am more about these things of the world that drive and motivate me. And then there's people who don't want to pick a path. So then a problem, people who don't want to pick a path is the problem that other people do. And they can try to get in relationships with different types of people. Oh, I kind of like being in a relationship with the loving, nurturing people, but then, I don't know, they kind of want me to quit being more immature or more about me. So then I think, oh, I'm going to go get in a relationship with the people who are maybe more aligned with my more shadowy nature, but then I don't really like being in a relationship with them because they're kind of like me, and we both might be people who kind of create an illusion that we're loving, but we're really not. And then I don't really like being in a relationship with them. And they could also kind of be more about themselves or defensive and fearful. Well, then I want to go back to the loving people, And the problem is other people pick a path. And and sometimes some people are stressed out because they weren't willing to pick a path. And other people in their life have moved on. So then they just might find new people to juggle. And eventually, probably the people they'll end up in a relationship with that are willing to keep staying in a relationship with them could be other people who juggle, other people who are more two faced. Oh, we like to present ourselves as these just and fair and emotionally mature, enlightened people, motivated and inspired by love. But really, we have a lot of fear about love, and we kind of like to indulge ourselves in relationships as long as it's good for our ego and our image. And we don't want to be more independent because we don't, or just other people who are, the truth is, in a more shadowy Capricorn energy, that their truth is they're more motivated by the things of the world too. And that would be a just and fair relationship. They didn't really get justice because they didn't free themselves from things that manipulate them. And they keep making their truth, no, the most important thing is that I look like a shining star in the world, and I'm in a relationship with this person who they think that's why we should be in a relationship, and that's the most important thing. They just got really caught up in making their life more about the things of the world than going on this adventure to really live their more authentic life from truth and love, instead of letting these things of the world or their fear or their defensiveness or the past or ego or whatever kind of make them live their life. And I think they could be people who always, I think ultimately at some way future point in time in their life, they could, well, some could end up feeling, well, it should be that they sabotage themselves by juggling the truth and weren't willing to work through these issues to free themselves to be more open to love. And I think for the people who are more really about the ego and the image, there could be someone that they really want to be the person that they're in a relationship with, because that to them seems like that would be the ideal dream relationship. They would really look like a shining star. And it might be people who kind of remind them of people from their past, where they would get to repeat this past pattern or be in relationships with people who don't require them to look at life any different or heal or grow or mature themselves, because those people are kind of the same way. But the problem is, when we're aligned with our more shadow nature, so even them aligning with their more shadow nature, no, I'm going to live more from my mind. I'm sure that's a safe bet. That'll keep me safe. Our own shadow nature doesn't have our best interests at heart. It doesn't, it wants to be indulged, and it wants us to indulge ourselves and make our life more about ourselves and more about our ego and our image and things we indulge in and make us think that that's the answer. But our shadow nature doesn't have our best interest. The devil lies, right? And our shadow nature, the big picture, kind of represented by the devil. And then the people in our life that tell us, no, you should make your life about this, and you should hang out with this, and you should live life like I live life, and oh my gosh, it's going to be so great. Sometimes those people don't have their best interest at heart either. We're all looking for people to hang out with who view life the same way we do. And they could be in a relationship with other people too who they think have their best interest at heart, just like they think aligning with being this way within themselves. And they wouldn't align with those people if there wasn't a part of them that thought that aligned with being aligned with their truth. I just think that when we're planting kind of bad seeds and doing things more out of our own self interest and whatever, I just don't think it's going to work out the way we want. And they could think, like, I want what other people want, but I don't want to have to put in work and effort. I want it to be more about me. I don't want to have to be more authentic. I don't want to come out from behind my ego. I don't want to have to be more vulnerable or loving. And they're not going to get that. They're going to get this because that's what they align with within themselves. They can have all sorts of loving, nurturing people in their life, but they could still keep feeling betrayed, or it's never good enough, right? Enough is never enough. I don't have enough attention. It's not enough about me. I don't like other people being more independent. I don't like having to maintain balance within myself. The devil's very egotistical and self centered and all about themselves. And some of these people in the world are like that. But they have to create this illusion, and that's what they don't like. I don't like having to create the illusion that I'm more just and fair and balanced than I am in order to get people to move forward with me in a relationship. So for them, it's always creating this illusion because they really are much more ego focused, self focused, and they're always mad because it's not just more about them. And other people got out of being just more about themselves to be inspired to work together with people cooperatively. They're not having to create an illusion of working together with people in a just and fair way. They're motivated and inspired to work with those people because those people are authentic and loving and warm and encouraging, and the devil just doesn't get it. So there you go, Scorpio. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.